topics, and that was the history of Sri Lankan cultural evolution. And it's time for us to move on to the next panel discussion. So this panel discussion will be on industry networks, hotels, media, and DMCs. I would like to invite Mr. Kasun Abenayaka, the Secretary General, Tourism Leaders Summit and International Tourism Research Conference, our panel chair. And our panelists are Mr. Timothy Wright, Vice President, General Manager, Shangri-La Hotel, Colombo. Mr. Arun Pathak, Managing Director of Welcome Hotels Lanka Private Limited. Mr. Dilip Javira, the Managing Director of Triad. Mr. Manish Fernando, General Manager, Hilton Colombo. And Mr. Rajiv Vitharana, Managing Director, Santa.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. Lovely to see you all on a Friday evening to hear tourism and hospitality words. So you have the eminent panel here. I'll give you the mic. If you have questions, you can ask questions. Not now, after the panel. We have Mr. Timothy Wright, Vice President, General Manager at Shangri-La Colombo. Then we have Mr. Arun Pathak, Managing Director, Welcome Hotels Lanka Private Limited. And we have Mr. Dilip Javira, Managing Director, Triad. And we have Mr. Manish Fernando, the General Manager, Hilton Colombo. So basically, the top players in the industry, both local and international brands are on the panel. So my very first question goes to Mr. Timothy Wright. Mr. Wright, we would like to know what are the sustainability practices that Shangri-La has adopted to ensure the inclusive growth?
Good afternoon, everyone. Firstly, before I answer the question, so nice to see Professor King here this afternoon. I used to be in Hong Kong. I used to be at that Shangri-La that the Icon Hotel now beats in average rate. I do recommend you stay at the Shangri-La. It's probably better value for money. But there is a fantastic Chinese restaurant at the Icon, I think Above and Beyond, I think it's called. Fantastic views and great cuisine. So stay at the Shangri-La and go and have a meal at the Icon. It is a fantastic hotel and actually is run by a former colleague of mine from Shangri-La, Richard Hatter. I think he's still there. As far as Shangri-La and sustainability, we have a philosophy of social responsibility, and that comes really in five main directions. And the first one is environment, obviously. We're very keen to work in the locations that we're that we've built hotels in trying to take care of the environment. In many of our resorts, we have a program called Embrace, and that program really focuses on the local wildlife. In Cebu, we have a coral reef that we look after, and it's very much integral part of the resorts. Here in the city, we're more focused on reduction of waste and trying to really reduce the carbon footprint that we impact in the environment. Our second area of focus is on health and safety. Security is really the top priority in any of our hotels, and further along, obviously, food safety is a critical point, as is health and safety in the workplace. We'd be nothing without our employees, and a key focus as far as our sustainable and social responsibility is about engaging with our employees and making sure that we impact the community in a positive way. And that goes on to learning and development and looking at future growth of our employees. Supply chain would be the fourth component. We want to look at procuring responsibly, and that goes towards sustainable seafood, ensuring that all our suppliers follow a very strict code of ethics. And the final component is obviously our stakeholders. None of this would be really possible, though, unless we as a business were sustainable and we as a business were profitable. So ultimately, none of that really is possible without that profitability that is very much a forefront of our business. So that's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. So,
Aware of what is the impact of what they do on the surroundings. So I think that's really the market, because the largest number of Indians doing well come from that zone. So that's the kind of market that we're addressing. In terms of challenges, I would place the challenge in two different forms. One is that even with all this, people are aware of Sri Lanka, but they do not have much of a depth of understanding on the immense variety of very rich experiences that can be had here. So one, the market needs to understand that, and they need to be made aware. The second biggest challenge is how do you reach those customers, and how do you take your message and make it convenient for them to transact and come and enjoy the hospitality here. So those would be the two main challenges.
my second question is, what more Sri Lanka need to do cater the high-end Indian travelers?
I think in terms of what needs to be done, in the last session, I think we had two very great examples. There was this example of Singapore, and there was that other example of Jamaica. And we need to curate experiences across different themes. What do you do with nature? What do you do with the ocean? What do you do with culture? What do you do with music? And once those, there's a position around them, then those can be marketed back in India. And that's the short one. The other thing that is very important, I think, from a distribution point of view, is that businesses here should be able to have alliances forged with businesses in India, because that's the quickest way you can reach those markets, instead of having to set up the whole infrastructure and the ability to distribute on every, for every individual hotel, which is a very tough one. It should be possible to get into closer alliances with people who are already in India to do the distribution and the selling there. And I think that would give a very quick return. A bit in the longer term, I think we have two major challenges. One, of course, is access. And whether it's the airport, whether it's roads, railways, I always feel that one of the things that we don't use very well are the sea lanes. We don't have a nice coastal ferry system that can, take the load off the roads and still give good experiences to people who are visiting. So things like that. And the other thing that is really something that we all need to work on is the human resource. How do you train people? How do you get adequacy of people? And how do you tune them into what is really happening internationally and to get the services consistently up to a level where the high-paying customer comes and appreciates and is willing to pay for them?
Thank you, Mr. Pratap. Now, I will move on to Mr. Dilip Jayavira. He's a person kind of game changer in the industry, events industry. So I would like to get some comments on the event industry well as the hospitality industry. So if you take the hotels like Citrus, we have this happy moment concepts. So based on that, I would like to get your question, I would like to get your answers. What are some of the pitfalls in our current destination marketing activities? In our marketing activities as a tourism destination, it is not aligned. So, like in marketing activities in Sri Lanka Tourism, which is not really aligned. So there are here and there are issues. So what do you really think of it? What is your comment on that point?
Now that's a very tricky area to touch. However, marketing for me is basically promoting a product or a service in a pure technical sense. But here the problem is a little more complicated. It's my personal view and the view of most of my colleagues in the industry that we really don't have the product intact. So when, as most of you all know, in this marketing jargon, the Kotler's language, first P is the product. So without a product, you can't promote. So we have, unfortunately, haven't got the product right. Then when I saw that beautifully choreographed, the Sri Lankan perspective of things that we can offer, tears in fact came to my eyes. Living in this beautiful country, we just cannot put the things right, and so that we can proudly market. And in fact, this is the very problem. We are not getting it right. And just because we have won the war, which means we have gone back to where many countries have been right through, so which peace is offered by many other destinations, beach is offered by many other destinations, culture, heritage is offered by many other destinations. What have we done to those products for us to have an extra additional advantage, again in marketing language to say differentiate? How can we differentiate ourselves? So this is the fundamental challenge, where without a product, a properly crafted product, no marketing guru can help. So get to position our product, get the product crafted, who's right, who's wrong, which government, which stakeholder is not what I want to sort of talk about, because every time when I talk about it that way, it gets politically interpreted and then it becomes a different dialogue. But what I try to say from a pure professional point of view, as an industry, the stakeholder who has been in the industry of marketing, I can confidently tell you, compared to most of the products in the market, Sri Lanka does not have the tourism product intact to be marketed professionally.
How well we can use creativity for this?
So again, I want to tell you what creativity can I have to offer when there is no product. Like when, simple things like when a tourist arrive at the country, our reception, our front office, you all see when you come to this country. You all see our receptionists who are the immigration officers, and that's the first impression that we create about the country. That's our reception. That's our front office. So beyond that, I don't want to talk about. And from that point onwards, any touch point that you see, up to the passing the immigration, then the customs, then the taxis, then the vehicle, then everything, then, whatever we have in our hotel and my friend's hotel at the Hilton lobby, whatever you offer, by that time we have ruined that, the enthusiasm of that tourist. If I charge $200, $300, then he thinks that I am cheating because I have arrived at a third world, God-forsaken country and they are overcharging me. So that's where the problem. And one more little example I can take. Since we also run a small hotel in Colombo, what can I offer a tourist to arrive in Colombo for him to stay more than 2 days than the Gangarama temple and show the elephant? That elephant is also not there, I think. And then taking that tourist to hotel and maybe House of Fashion, from there to maybe to Bere Lake. And you tell me, why would somebody stay back in Colombo? What nightlife do we offer? What other entertainment do we offer? There's nothing. So if you want me to be politically right and say there are theories to promote this product, I'm sorry, I'm not here to discuss that when I really want to be honest. And if you don't get this thing, this bloody thing right, we can sit and talk till the cows come home. We can talk any of the theories, and it is not going to work. And this is all what I have to say about this.
Thank you. Very good. My next question goes to Mr. Manish Fernando, the General Manager at Hilton. To female participation in hotel sector is very much important. Even very first panels, of course, they have discussed about the female participation. How do you really look at it? How do you really look at it, the female participation in hotel sector?
There is no argument about the way I look at it, because females make 51% of the country, and we've had 2 very strong female leaders who led this country, plus there were some queens as well in our history. And you know about the female productivity in terms of the tea industry, in terms of the labor which goes to unskilled to Middle East. Females are a big part of our foreign exchange earnings. With tourism being, I think, the future industry for Sri Lanka, which really has a big competitive advantage with location and what we have to offer. I think female participation is so important. If not, we will have to bring people from abroad to work.
From your personal point of view, what are the strategies that you really look at? What are the strategies that you really look for?
Okay, Kasun, we've taken a view which is like short term and long term. If you talk about today, our company, just like the other companies, I'm sure, we have female development programs, women in leadership programs, where we really push them up to break that ceiling on a very micro level or today's level. If you take an example, in May, we went to speak to at least 5,000 students. Of that, I think 60% were to female schools. So we are every year taking the message about hospitality being an industry with a future for females, because we have this negative connotation with hospitality and lodging, where our maybe the more how do I say, older generation parents would not like to see their kids even married to a hotelier. Okay, so we have to get away all these stigmas, and we are really showing how people have grown up. And if you take an example, my director HR has already passed the GM development program. So we are really pushing people along. That's today what we're doing, so that maybe what we did 5 years ago, I'm reaping the benefits now because I'm seeing more and more young students who are coming to join us, whom we've talked to when they were in school. They're now coming after A-levels, after degrees to join us. Yes, so that's how we are going about it.
Thank you, Mr. Fernando. I should thank Mr. Fernando to host Tourism Leaders Summit Women's Forum way back in March, where the Mrs. Rosie Senanaik was the chief guest for the event. So thank you very much, Mr. Fernando, for the hosting the Tourism Leaders Summit Women's Forum. As I promised at the beginning, I'll give you 2 questions to the audience. 2 questions only. We don't want to listen any more comments from you. We would like to have 2 questions. 2 questions can...
Hello. Thank you so much for the panel. Kasun, thank you so much. I would like to ask a question. I come from the arts. I come from the performing arts. And I don't understand why Sri Lanka does not have a policy to promote our performers. We have beautiful dancers, Canadian dancers, you saw some of them. We have musicians who are world class. Pradeep Ratnaikar, he's absolutely gorgeous. We have drama. We've just done Shakespeare last week. The youth of the country are extremely, extremely talented. I don't know why the hotels don't have cultural shows. I've been asked by British tourists, where can they see our dance? Well, where can you see our dance?
Mr. Fernando?
Wow, you stumped me now. Yeah, ma'am, I would love to host the cultural shows, and I would love to get in touch with you. I shall give you my card, and it'll be my pleasure. Yeah.
I'd be delighted.
Thank you. The second question? Second question? Here, in the front. Bring the mic. It's here. Come. This gentleman, yeah.
Okay, there's someone in front.
Thank you very much for the organizing this event. I must thank of Dr. Suranga from University as a great program he has done. On the aviation concern, I would like to ask some questions. And now, after the 2009, the end of the war, now Sri Lanka, now our country has more than 10 domestic airlines are operating in the country. Then out of the 10, 2...
excuse me, shall we keep this question for the aviation forum?
He's not an aviation?
No, there will be another forum soon after this for the aviation. So you can ask that. It's very challenging. Emirates Airline, immigration officers.
Maritime also is next one.
The next session.
Okay.
Next session they will be talking about it. Any other thing on hospitality or hoteliering? Yeah. There's one. There's Ben.
It's not on hospitality and hoteliering, but more a question I'd like to ask Mr. Dilith, because in concern of the problem that he shared, that he sees with the product. And I just want to know whether there is any proposal of what you feel is the ideal product to take forward, because it sounds like also that you've got tired of tapping many doors to get the ideal product through. But if you could share it, because I think this is a forum of where a lot of young people, me, myself, I ran my own travel company. I also come from a similar background. I quit advertising and jumped into tourism straight away. I was never in travel or tourism. And I want to know whether there is an ideal product that you have in mind.
Okay. Me also being this product of Colombo University, and I thought it's my duty to be frank and honest in sharing my views. Very clear. It's not very complicated, but see, as stakeholders, we play a part, and the government, of course, play a part. And So this product is beyond our control. It is a product, if we can control, that's probably the hotel that we run, we can control. We can offer our best. We in fact try to do our best. And we believe we do the best. But to offer the best, the rest of the environment is not conducive and it is not intact. This is where the problem comes. So I would love for my guests to stay in Colombo for more than 2 to 3 days. So what will I go and tell them is the question that I asked. I want them to have a very comfortable travel and nice taxi to get into at the airport. This is a struggle even before I got into the industry. Many years ago, even like about 10 years ago, I gave a proposal. I don't know whether you have seen the taxi service that we offer in this country to the tourists. So if we cannot get the bloody taxi thing intact, which is the first experience, and if the tourists have to pay 200, 300 rupees extra to get the air conditioning on in those 10, 15-year-old vans and maybe 10-year-old cars, not at all properly regulated, nothing. And if we can't get that right, my friends, what are we talking? If anybody says our product is intact, they are the enemies in this industry. I would like to see them personally, to talk to them. Some people go talk what they think is politically right, and this is how it should be. That's not the point. As that's not the way. We should be courageous enough to bring these issues up. These are our issues. We should be able to talk about these things openly. And we are not blaming anybody. The blame is, we are taking the blame. It's us. It's not an individual. It's not the minister or the prime minister or the president or anybody. But we need to talk about these things openly. Let's get together and get this product crafted so that a traveler who arrives in this country up to the point of leaving the country to have a nice experience. I'm sure you would have gone to Yala. You can see what a beautiful product and what has happened to that product today. You go to Sigiriya, you see more dogs up there than sometimes human beings. And there are no infrastructure. There is no infrastructure. The toilets are horrible. I mean, if you want to get good quality tourists to this country, we have to get this right. That's all what I have to again say. I hope that I answered this question all right.
Thank you for the panel. Thank you, the panel and the audience, the lovely audience. You had lovely questions. Thank you very much. This applause is for you, for your questions. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I would like to thank the panel chair and the panelists for that interesting discussion. And I would like to invite Major General Nimal Krishnaratne, President, Alumni Association, Tourism Study Program. And I would also like to invite Mr. Mubarak Khaldeen, Joint Secretary, International Tourism Research Conference 2018. And Mrs. Pratimani Bandusena, Senior Lecturer, University of Moratuwa. And Mr. Sampath Siriwardana, Senior Lecturer, University of Colombo, to please come forward to present tokens of appreciation to our panel chair and our panelists. Thank you very much. And I would also like to invite the panel chair and the panelists of the next panel discussion, which is on aviation maritime, enhancing connectivity, airlines and agencies. Mr. Manik Suryarachi, the Managing Director of Omega Global Private Limited, our panel chair, and our panelists are Mrs. Alice Jo Paul, Country Manager, Air India, Mrs. P.S.M. Charles, Director General of Customs, Captain Milinda Ratnayake, Vice Chairman, Airport and Services, Mr. Chandana De Silva, Area Manager, Sri Lanka and Maldives Commercial, Emirates Airlines, and Mr. Simon Tham, representative of the Colombo Port City.
Good afternoon, all. We had a very strong discussions on the previous panels of how we craft a tourism product best suits for our needs. So having said that, I got a privilege of getting some of the answers from this eminent panel about the connectivity and also leaving a last impression to a tourist when they come in and when they leave our country. Introducing my panel, I have Mr. Chandana De Silva, Emirates Airline. We have Captain Melinda Ratnayake from Aviation. He's a Vice Chairman of Airport and Aviation. I have Mr. Simon Tham from Port City. Mrs. Alice Paul from Air India. Also, we're privileged to have P.S.M. Charles, Director General of Customs. Welcome, madam. To start my conversation with it, that we all aware that we have a master plan for 2020 to have 4.5 million tourists coming to Sri Lanka. So it's a very ambitious plan we all working on. So role of customs, role of immigration, role of the airlines that are working in Sri Lanka is a major key play that we are having. Going back to Mr. Chandana, regarding
Check, okay.
yes. My question to you is like Dubai, the future of city, that slogan that's going on, and having 4 flights a day to Sri Lanka. For destination marketing point of view, obviously with one flight to Mali, including 5. Destination marketing point of view, what's your thoughts after listening to the previous panel, also crafting a tourism product?
Yeah, I think we have a very ambitious number, 4 million passengers into the country. So we as Emirates, we have taken the first step to have 4 services or continuing it into maybe 5 very soon into Sri Lanka. Roughly we bring in about 400,000 passengers per annum, per year. And we do have, promoting Sri Lanka, a product brochure that talks about my beautiful country. And we do connect the whole of, say if you take Dubai, the north of Dubai, if I say north of Dubai, the USA, Americas, the whole of the Europe, GCC countries, Africa, East European countries, everybody is funneled through Dubai into Colombo. So from my perspective, there is no problem about bringing in the passengers. We also do have a high-end product or high-end brochure selling my beautiful country in the UK, Germany, and in France. So we also do take part in positioning and promoting the country. Of course, I have to thank the Tourist Board for taking the initiative, one critical initiative which we never had in the airline industry or in the tourism industry. Kumar, I'm sure Kumar is seated somewhere here, Kumar De Silva. They spearheaded this, pushing the low season tourists into the country. During low season, how to push a little bit more passengers into the country, which is a great initiative. Having said that, I heard a very fiery talk from Dilit just before this panel. I think he's absolutely spot on and correct. That's something for everyone to think about the product. The product is not your hotel room. Product is not the amenities that you have it in your hotel room. It's not even the things what you see in Colombo. It's the holistic thing of my country. Another lady asked the question, what has happened to the art, music, dancing, that all those things has to come into the product for us to push this beautiful country. So my answer is, yes, the connectivity is there. We have one more challenge, I think Captain Milinda will answer. When you have that many passengers, how is he going to cope at the airport? So the facilities at the airport, all that has to be looked at. Thank you.
I would add little more towards to you with regards to having 5 flights and also for you to increase the frequency. Is this existing airport facility and the fees and charges matters to you?
Well, it's a very touchy question. Yes, I think that's another thing that we would like to say. We tested the A380 aircraft landing here in Sri Lanka. Airport and Aviation, thanks to Captain and the team and the Airport and Aviation team, they did a great job. However, just imagine time to come, just to fulfill the dream of our country, 4 million passengers. If I want to bring 2 A380s a day, that is at least 500 passengers disembarking at any given time, 1,000 passengers, 2 flights, plus 2 more 777s landing here. Can the airport handle? Do you have the infrastructure? Do we have the infrastructure where immigrations are concerned? Do we have the facility to take the customers out in a manner that he will think my experience in my journey in my beautiful country has given me value for money? Now, these are the things that we have to think as airline people. Yes, we can bring in. Yes, we can add. But do we have all that to fulfill the bigger picture of 4 million? I don't have the answer. Maybe
thank
it's just
you.
a question from me
Yes,
again.
this forum is all about getting the policy to the future and also opening our mindset what we should look for. So therefore, thank you. Having the continuation of it, I would get into our neighbor, India, and is having witnessed your amazing campaigns like Incredible India, which has reached huge number of potential customers and the travel is going towards the country. Sri Lanka also, we witnessed influx number of tourists coming, though our culture and the values are similar ways of foods and the culture. So what would you think in the recent past, reason for this increase of passengers coming into Sri Lanka?
I didn't get your last line.
Your view of why this increase, was there a promotion campaign or how could we do better to attract?
Ayubovan, Namaskar. It's a privilege to be here amongst distinguished speakers and honored to be called here. India and Sri Lanka have got lots in common. The Indian tourist influx into Sri Lanka has definitely increased over the past few years because of the awareness. Just a small example, Indians are great movie fans. So you go to any theater, especially wherever UL flies, the theaters have the ads of Sri Lanka playing. I've been making to the tourism department earlier too is, we look at only the pleasure tourism. We also need to look at pilgrim tourism here. We have the Buddhist people who would like to come in here, as well as the Hindu, because India is a Hindu nation, and they would definitely love to visit the Ramayana trail. In fact, I personally went across the different points where the Ramayana. I'm basically a Catholic, but I still went to all the temples, and I found that the facilities are not as good as at maybe at Kandy or maybe at Anuradhapura, where things are more streamlined. So we need to look at opening the Ramayana trail in a much more better way, develop it. And I'm sure we would definitely get in more tourists here.
Acknowledging her comments, she's also answering the previous panel's question, do we have enough tourism products? So she's mentioning that the cleanliness, greenery, Buddhist tourism, and Ravana type of a trail, and so many other historical trails is something that Indian tourists is looking for. The connectivity is one issue. Yes, they have increased flights coming to Sri Lanka. So therefore, it's a take-home message for product developers of what Indian tourists is looking for. Thank you.
Thank you.
Going back to my questions. To Mr. Simon Tham, representing Port City. Port City, it's much discussed project in Sri Lanka, creating a city of its own at the central business district of Colombo, having super-grade marinas, luxury real estates, much more. Also, you all have mentioned that multi-currency financial city on its way. What are your challenges to market this product? I would like to ask more.
Sure. First of all, I'd like to thank you for having me here on stage. I was feeling a bit inadequate. As a real estate guy, why am I invited for a tourism seminar like this? Looking back, before joining Port City, I was actually a hotelier running a 4-star resort hotel and a golf and country club. And now, with the Port City project, a lot of people are asking, what's next for Colombo? The question brought forward is like, for a start, we are building an international financial center within Port City. And this is only one district within the 270 hectares of land that we are, in a way, producing and building a new city for Sri Lanka. And the major challenge right now for us, I think, is to get the right policies in place and to bring it out to the international investors, to market Sri Lanka to the investors first as a country, and then to our port city project, because we are competing with many other cities in the world, and especially those who are more developed over the years and positioned as an international financial hub.
Would you see this increase in infrastructure facilities happening at the ports around Colombo, and when it comes to connectivity, any discussions that you all had with Air China with regards to supporting your project?
Yes. Yeah, we have undergone the EIA report to consider the environment, consider the traffic impact, and also the way the population would develop over time with the port city. We envisaged about 250,000 people staying in port city when it's fully developed over the span of, say, 25 years. Now, for now, there's an elevated highway from the airport that will reach port city, of course, under construction. And in future, we are also planning to bring in the LRT line within the port city itself. Beside that, we're also discussing with Megapolis and the government to build an underground tunnel that stretches all the way to Marine Drive to expand the roads and increase traffic flow.
So the connectivity on road, air, and all that you have taken considered to promote your project. That's good to hear.
Thank you.
My next question goes to Mrs. Charles. She's Director General of Customs. That's quite a tough role, this kind of a panel, because they were bound by a lot of legislations, regulations. The impression of a tourist when they pass in custom of many countries, that could be real, not a good experience they're getting through. In Sri Lanka, it's a second last impression that we're leaving when we're coming from the airport. With your role, what are the steps that you all have taken to make sure that our custom officers have the soft skills with friendliness?
Thank you for the question. Just we had a discussion with my team to prepare the master plan with all infrastructure development and the facilitation to attract the tourists and facilitate the travelers in the airport. I think we already started the negotiation with the civil aviation. While they are providing the correct, proper infrastructure facilities, we are looking forward to facilitate the travelers. In addition to that, we want to request the airlines to educate the tourists before they reached our destination, because the custom regulations are should be educated, because unless it's declared or well aware about the travelers, we can't do anything because of our ordinance. That is our request from the airlines and the civil aviation, to make aware of the travelers before they reach the destination.
Thanks for adding that value to us. My second question goes to you. What are the challenges currently Sri Lanka Custom is facing on the point of travel and tourism at the airport, serving influx numbers of tourists coming in?
Yeah, this custom is the border regulatory agency. But even though we are working with several other stakeholders, that should be integrated management in the border. We already started to work on that with IOM and the World Bank to develop the national single window where other agencies come to one platform and do the facilitation. These are the challenges in the border we are facing, to work with other agencies and coordination to in a expected quick time that will happen in future times.
Thank you for your comments. Next question goes back to Captain Melinda. After listening to all of us, now we get into the connectivity main hub. Airport and Aviation.
Thank you very much for inviting me for this panel discussion. I really don't know whether to answer the questions first and say what I have to say. I think I will answer the questions later. Sri Lanka has a $4 billion industry, and we are planning to go up to $5 billion. So there are hundreds and thousands and millions of people who depend on this tourism industry. We charge a passenger $50 when he departs an airport, and out of which $35 is taken by the state, $10, just under $10 is taken by airport aviation, and $5 is taken from by the tourist board. So the tourist board has quite a lot of money. If I may recall, last year I was in Brisbane, in the Gold Coast. And when you go there, you find the beaches are at least 25 meters long up to the sea. And there are facilities for families. There are barbecue pits. There are washrooms. There are so many facilities for the tourists to use in those countries. And we expect those tourists to come to Sri Lanka and go to places like all the way from Kalpitia to Mount Lavinia to UNWTO to Hambantota, all the way Batticaloa to Trinco. I don't know whether the tourist board has field officers who actually go to these places, sample what a tourist goes through, and see for themselves what a tourist has to undergo. If you take the upcountry, there are places where there are enough of tourists. They don't have a place to stay. They don't have a place to eat. They don't have any facilities. So I would suggest that even a place that opens up a small shop, eating place, the tourist board goes and tells them why you can't open this, why you can't sell liquor, why you cannot open this place. It should be the other way about, where the tourist board should think them as investors, where they would upgrade the place, give them money, and so that a tourist could visit these places, use their bathrooms, use their showers, use the place to sunbathe, etc. But the normal concept that every person who gets involved in tourism is that tourism promotion and tourist board, etc., is only there to stop people from doing what they are doing. And I was in Malaga, Spain, about maybe 10 years ago. They have a small tractor, a very small tractor, with a contraption behind, which goes from one end of the beach to the other end of the beach, taking all the muck, the dirt, and once that goes right up to the edge, there's a nice design on the beach. Can't we introduce that to all the beaches where we have? You find all the photographs, the scenery of beaches in brochures. Very nice sea beach, no one there. But why won't you be realistic? Why won't you film the Mount Lavinia beach or the Trincomalee beach? No one cleans it. Tourist board is not interested. Are they only interested in giving the numbers and say, we have not 2 million tourists or 3 million tourists? Why won't you go to the grassroots level and see what a tourist actually needs? Thank you.
Thanks for your sharing the thoughts.
I will answer the questions after.
Yes, one more question based on that, sir, regarding the domestic connectivity and your recent initiative of opening up Batticaloa Airport, and because the connectivity matters for the East Coast for tourist development.
We are developing Ratmalana, which will be declared the international airport by December this year, where we'll get small aircrafts coming from outside. Most of them will be business jets. And we even hope to operate from Ratmalana to other cities, international places as well. And Batticaloa is already opened, and we will be doing the work in Palali, hopefully starting next year. Yes.
Yes, and the Terminal 2, how far are we?
I must answer Mr. Dilip Javira's criticism about the taxis in BIA. I think you have to excuse me because I have been there only for 4 months. There are 700 taxi operators at BIA, and they have 6 unions. And there are 4 counters with hotel taxis. So total there are 1,000 people, 1,000 families employed. So we had a discussion with them, and they have come to an agreement that they will upgrade their vehicles, and they gave us the okay, or we are going to start a limousine service, hopefully within about 3 months, where you don't have to get your vehicle from Colombo to come to Katunayaka and pick you up and take you back. You should be able to just walk out of the airport, put your bag in the boot, and take you to Colombo. I hope I'll be able to achieve it. And when it comes to the same criticism about Mr. Jayavira, we have a problem with the airport. It is, we built to cater for 6 million passengers. Now we have 9 million passengers, and it will become 10 million within the next 1 year. So we have a huge challenge, and we are putting up an interim terminal, which is not what we planned for, but it's an interim solution where we just signed the agreement. Within the next 6 months, we should get an interim terminal, which we can take in about 1 million passengers. And it's a prefab construction, should take between 6 to 8 months. And I've been talking to the tourist board where it comes from the airport. We don't have any person welcoming the tourists. We don't get the feeling that you are welcome to Sri Lanka. You find all the duty-free guys trying to sell you liquor, trying to sell you rice cookers. And when you go down, you find the taxis. I totally understand the situation, but we are trying hard to change this because we are talking to these people, and I've been talking to the tourist board. Why won't you get some nice girls welcoming the tourists? We have a tourist counter on the right side when you exit. No one knows about it. Welcome the tourists.
Department's initiative, Department of Custom, Immigration, Airport and Aviation, together with Ministry of Tourism, need to come together to create the everlasting product for Sri Lanka. Going back to Chandana's initiative earlier, that you have mentioned that let a brand speak its own and make it the position by itself. Brand positioning matter as a destination. Should we market Sri Lanka as a destination, or should we take other destinations like Anuradhapura, Kandy, like destination when we're marketing?
even though this question should be pointed towards the tourist board, if I may answer, I think where we are getting mixed up is the tourist board. Of course, they do market Sri Lanka. In my opinion, we have the diversity. We have everything. There was another speaker here, how he took all the bits and pieces and mentioned about various niche areas, the what do you call, the wildlife and unspoken places and things like that. We are very good at talking. We are very good at coming up with huge projects, but we are very bad at executing all those things. The touch points of all what we just mentioned, what we just heard, nobody looks at it in a positive manner. That is the biggest problem that our country is facing. So when you market something, we have a big project book with so many pages, and no one takes the responsibility to execute that. That's a huge challenge. So in my opinion, yes, position the country. It's easier for us to do it. Come up with our brand identity, the real identity, and then we can talk about the diversity and other things that is in the country.
Thanks for your comments. Given my time limit, I would like to summarize this particular conversation regarding the tourist touch point, how important the key stakeholders positioning on it from the day that tourists coming into the country and the leaving the country. So therefore, we all have major role to play in it. So therefore, I'm thanking my panel of sharing the information.
Thank you.
Yes, I would like to open the floor for 2 questions, I would say.
Actually, it's not a question. I just want to make a small statement to Captain Milinda. You said you have been here for 4 months, and you very right, we will all have a right to criticize the tourist board and the tourism. That's fine. Why don't you look at yourself first? What you're doing in the aviation side, in the airport, and look at how you can improve the airport, the facilities there, without criticizing the tourist board. That's your job, to make sure that the airport is run properly. Don't criticize others when you have a problem. As a government official, you should be more careful when you do that, because you can sling mud, you can throw a stone at another, provided you haven't sinned, right? So I think you should be more careful when you say this, because the tourist board has done a lot for the country, right? So it's not fair for you to criticize somebody else when you have fault. If you haven't sinned, it's okay to criticize others.
Can I say something? What I was telling you was what a tourist experiences when he comes to Sri Lanka. I totally agree that the airport is in a bloody mess. I totally agree. And I'm telling you, I will give you the assurance, I will do my utmost and my best to see that a tourist goes through without any hassle. That is why I told you, we are quite aware that our airport is not a purpose-built airport. We are getting e-gates where passengers will go through electronic gates. You know the government regulations, how difficult it is to get it done, but we are getting it done. For your information, last week or 10 days ago, we got the first security checkpoint cleared. Have you been to the airport in the last 1 month? Last week, did you see that the security point was taken off? The first security point. And I had to speak to about 100 people to get it off. But I got it off. And the same way, I told you, I have been speaking to the taxi guys. I've been speaking to the immigration chief. Because we don't have any jurisdiction over immigration, right? So every day I have been calling him and telling him, we have queues which are 100 yards long with about 5,000 passengers. They have a problem because they don't have enough people to check the passengers. So I'm quite prepared to take criticism. But I think all of us have to get together because I have no voice to tell you all because I told the tourist board, why won't you get some girls to help these people? He said, no, we can't. We can't put in people here. I told the Director General of Immigration the other day, who do we have on queuing people? They have recruited queue masters. They don't speak Chinese, they don't speak Indian, they don't speak English. So I'm quite willing to take criticism and we will fight it and we will make it a better place to experience the airport.
Thank you, Mr. Hiran Kure and Captain Melinda. Yes, we all can work together to make it happen, and this forum is opening up some challenges that we will discuss among each departments. One more question.
Good evening, ma'am. I'm from Fly Southern Domestic Airlines, so I just want to
Your
ask
questions
some
too?
questions. Yeah, of course. Like the connectivity up to BIA, it is there, of course, or any international airport. From there onwards, if you want to take the passengers to Jaffna or Batty, they cannot travel like 5-6 hours in the road after traveling 10 hours. Right. In that case, like Cinnamon Air, they are tied up with Sri Lankan Airlines, like Emirates, Air India. So why don't you all tie up with some local parties here and take your passengers up to the final destination, where they don't want to travel by land, spending their time 10 hours up and down. That almost one day they are losing their holiday. So I kindly invite the international airlines to tie up with local domestic airlines and promote Sri Lanka.
My question is to the Civil Aviation Authority. I am from the Chamber of Tourism Industry. Now we have 10 domestic airlines.
Sorry,
can I answer that question?
Sorry, yeah, may we finish? Your question is directing to or general?
Can I answer that question? For your information, Mr. Arthur Seranayaka of IWS came and met us today, and he has done all the spade work, and he will be bringing a Dash 8 aircraft, which will be operating from Colombo to Jaffna as well as Betiklo, from hopefully 2 months from now.
Yes, sir. That is, it's still the aircraft is not in Colombo.
Yeah, it's
but
coming.
what we are talking about, right now we are having aircrafts in Colombo, but no one is interested. We have given the proposal to Tourism Board, like DGCA. So right now somebody has to take the initial step to tie up with domestic airlines.
Yeah, if I may add, Captain Melinda Ratnaka has clearly mentioned that they're in a process of establishing domestic airports. Batikolo has been open.
But they don't have fuel. Actually, there's no somebody, this captain is there. But we can go to Betiklo, but there you don't have fuel there to return. In that case, we will have to limit the passengers. So just fly and bring few passengers and come back. For refueling, you don't have. The airport is there, refueling is not there. So you will have to have a proper...
The Aviation, Cinnamon Air, Fly Southern, Sakura, and FAIRs and Skylark. They're all 10 airlines are operating. My point of view, the rates that they are charging from Colombo to Batiklo by Cinnamon Air is $265. Where the Southern flying to same destination, they are charging only $100. My point of view, they are 2-engine, 2-pilot aircraft, other one single aircraft, they are 8-seaters. There is a problem to get into the onboard for the normal passengers because 15% VAT is charged by the civil aviation. Because this is a new product for the Sri Lanka after the war. So until the civil aviation improve, I wanted to make request for the civil aviation to waive off the 50% VAT where everybody can get into the aircraft and they can travel all their destination. We have 11 domestic airports. you have only opened Betiklo. As I say, international marketing, Mr. Chandra Silva was, when he was the Sri Lankan airline, he had done a very good job. He done a Hikadua, Arugambe surfing destination while he was in the Sri Lankan airline. He tremendous marketing, he did it. But after that, there are no airline has come forward to designate marketing in Sri Lanka. So I just wanted to have Indian airline come to the platform, because you are very close over us. You also come to the platform and make more marketing campaign in India to bring more tourists. So I just wanted to say, Civil Aviation Authority officer, you can explain whether you can waive off the 50% tax.
If I may correct you, sir, there's no civil aviation presence here. It's the airport and aviation, so your point will be raised up with civil aviation on a separate matter. Okay. If I may conclude, may I request a round of applause to our panel?
Thank you very much to our panel chair and our panelists. And I would like to invite Dr. D.A.C. Suranga Silva, founder and coordinator of Master in Tourism Economics and Hotel Management, and Mr. Upali Ratnayaka, director, SLTDA. And I would also like to invite Mr. Kasuna Benayaka, lecturer in charge, Tourism Leaders Summit, to give away the tokens of appreciation.